Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Friendship Pearson, and welcome again to my channel. It is Saturday, happy Saturday, February 8th of 2025. And look at the time, 9:11. Wow, now it's 9:12. Wow, 9:11, now it's 9:12. Well, that's kind of fitting, people, because I have been brainstorming for the last 2 days, and I want to show you a picture of our national and international financial landscape. Many of you guys know I study finance as a hobby, and I'm gonna give you my spiel in relation to what Elon Musk and Trump are dealing with. So it says, who is part of Elon Musk, Doge, and what are they doing? Watch this. Boom, it's gone. And that's how quick it's going to happen, people. They're not going to tell you the truth, so I'm going to tell you the truth. We are being formatted into a one-world system. The question is, how are they going to dance to get it there? The question is, how do they get the media to show you everything else? The question is, how do they get the entertainers to show you all the drama? All the gladiators in sports to entertain you, all the politicians going back and forth bickering about this and that, when everybody at the top knows full well what's going on. So let me start with this. Let me go to my little doodle section. Is Trump cutting at the wrong pace? He's giving out 7 and 8 months severance pay, right? You heard about it. What? CIA, FBI, and other businesses, he's giving them that money. It's going to be good at the beginning because everybody's going to get paid, right? But people think of it like this. The less jobs that are out here, the less money going into the federal purse to take care of America's debts and America's obligations. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, Army, let's go down the list. Taxes, money from businesses, millionaires, billionaires, and more. Arguably, the millionaires and billionaires, like I showed you guys last week video, to me, they're not paying their fair share. Are we spurring enough business in America? That's my question. Interest rates. The Federal Reserve is back and forth trying to get it stabilized in relation to make sure they have a healthy economy. I reported over 2 years ago that Jerome Powell came out of his mouth. The best way to get this interest rate under control is to unemploy people. Do you understand? So if interest rates go up, guess what happened? We got a problem. If they're too low, we got a problem. They have the genie in the bottle. Now, if interest rates go up, now the borrowing costs for a home or business or auto loans is a problem. In an unhealthy economy and a rising unemployment rate, that spells a problem. Now, we got a decent GDP. Unemployment is currently at 4%. But remember, less jobs in the future, less money collected by the federal government. Trump's firings could hurt us in the future is what I'm saying. Is he slashing too quick? Means more borrowing and more debt. The federal government will have to borrow more and be in more debt. So it's either cut, or tax, or borrow. By year's end with the scenario along with tariffs, we could be headed towards a Jimmy Carter type recession, that is stagflation, okay? However, I think they will mask it until the New World Order Golden Age 666 system. They need it so bad. They need our economy in such a bad shape that once Humpty Dumpty attempts to climb back up the wall, it would be virtually impossible. Now let me show you what I mean. Look at this here. the current job report, Bureau of Labor Statistics. Right now, as of January 2025, we're at 4% unemployment, okay? That's what Biden used to always hype on. Hey, yeah, we got low unemployment. Now, real GDP is expected to grow 2.1% over the next year. The unemployment rate is expected to average 4.3%, okay? I'm gonna go down the row. Now, here's your debt clock. 36 trillion and counting. That's where we're at. Here's the Doge clock. 71. 71, what's that? 71 billion, I guess. Who knows? It might be a trillion. It's probably a trillion. Debt clock. Doge clock. But you just type in debt clock and you see it counting. This is what Elon Musk and Trump is dealing with, okay? Now, how much has the U.S. government spent this year, okay? The fiscal year really starts for them in October, okay? We're $1.7 trillion in the hole. Look at that, $1.79 trillion in the hole for 2025. So we don't have enough money to cover our debt is what I'm saying. So we have to, we're gonna have to borrow. We're borrowing, okay? I'm gonna break it down and show you. So we've already spent 1.79. Now, how much money has the government taken in for 2025? We've only taken in a little over $1 trillion. You see that for 2025? Yet, we've already spent 1.7 trillion. Okay, that's what I'm saying. We're in trouble. Now, how much money was borrowed in 2020? 3.4 trillion, okay? This increased the federal debt to almost $27 trillion. So this was during this period. That was during that period. We borrowed $3.4 trillion. Like I said, the less people working, the more debt we go in, the more we have to borrow, the more we're beholden to foreigners and everybody else. America is no more. We're in debt to other people. We don't control ourselves. We don't control our own destiny. In 2021, we borrowed $1.3 trillion, okay? This was due to a federal deficit of 2.8 trillion, okay? Let's go. In 2022, we borrowed $1.4 trillion, okay? That was a 34.8 increase for fiscal 2021. Imagine that. Then we have 2023, we borrowed $2 trillion. $2 trillion in under all this money under Biden. Look at that, $2 trillion more. You know who he was giving the money to, right? To a certain extent. All right, in 2024, the federal government borrowed $28.2 trillion in the fiscal 2024, which was an increase of $2 trillion, okay? Where we at now? A deficit occurs when the federal government expenditures, spending exceeds its revenues. The federal government has spent $711 billion more than it has collected in the fiscal 2025. So we've already spent $711 billion more than what we got taken in right now so far for this year. Now, how much is America in debt to U.S. treasurers? As of November 2024, United States federal government debt was 36 trillion. I showed you that on the debt clock. The debt is the total amount of money the government owes to its creditors, including domestic and foreign investors. How is the debt calculated? The debt accumulates when the government spends more than it collects in revenue. The government issues bonds to bridge the gap between spending and revenue. Bonds are IOUs that promise repayment with interest. What types of bonds are issued? Treasury bills are short-term bonds, treasury notes are medium-term bonds, and bonds are long-term bonds. And guess what? There are countries that have stopped buying the bonds, okay? We're in trouble. This is what Trump is dealing with, people. What foreign countries hold our debt? According to current data, the foreign countries that hold the most U.S. debt are Japan and China. That's why I tell people it's a clown show. Ain't no such thing as a trade war. If these people hold the bulk of our debt, are we not hurting ourselves also? It's a world order already set up. They're just not going to tell you. Both are considered significant holders in U.S. Public debt, with UK, Luxembourg, and Cayman Islands also ranking high on the list. So Japan and China, that's our tag team on the basketball court, baby. As of 2023, mutual funds held $3.7 trillion of our debt, mutual funds. The Federal Reserve holds $4.3 trillion of the debt. And guess what? When all else fails and nobody else wants to buy our bonds and everything else, guess what? The last resort is always the Federal Reserve. In part, they control America. It says this was part of a total of $7 trillion in assets. Go down the list. Has China pulled back on recent years in buying America's debt? Yes, China has significantly reduced its purchase of America's debt in recent years, actively selling off U.S. treasuries, which is considered a move to diversify its reserves and minimize exposure to the risk associated with the U.S. economy and its high debt levels. This trend has been observed over the past few years, with reports showing a substantial decrease in China's holdings of U.S. bonds compared to previous years. This is why when I interpret the news, I interpret it also financially, because America is going after China with this 10%. Why do you think they're doing that? Because China and other countries are saying, you know what? You can't keep your dollar strong, baby. You can't keep your dollar strong. You can't even get suspenders or a belt to hold your pants up, America. So guess what? I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. Oh, now you're gonna talk smack and have a 10% tariff on me? Why? Because see, it's really a family. America, China, Japan, we're in a loosely knit world order. We're a family. I don't call them opposition. They're family members. Once we got involved with international order and we start selling bonds and treasuries and start getting in debt to these people, these are our cousins and nephews. And when we fight, we just fight. It's internal. But at some point, we're going to kiss and make up and have a one world system. And why are they pulling out? Because gold and silver and other assets are more important, like land, because our dollar is faltering. You understand what I'm saying? Numbers speak, they tell stories. Okay. Has Japan begun to reduce America's debt? Yes, Japan has been reducing its exposure to U.S. Treasury securities, but it remains one of the largest foreign holders of U.S. debt. You feel me? Straight up. This ain't America no more, baby. They got us. How many trillions does the bank have in debt? Banks have faced trillions of dollars in debt in recent years, including real estate debt, foreign exchange debt, and loans to non-depository financial entities. We on borrowed time, baby. That debt clock that we got, I showed you earlier, it only show you numbers. I'm trying to tell you guys a story. I didn't try to insult anybody. I just want you to understand what they're looking at. But trust me, Trump made a lot of this debt too. Okay, now let's go here. We got how many trillions does the banks have in debt? Okay, we just did that. Then we have, can banks still have a bailout from the government? Yes, the U.S. government can still bail out banks in the event of a financial crisis. However, the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Act of 2010 also allows banks to undergo bail-ins. After the 2008 crisis, they got slick and they fought like hell, and I watched them like a hawk. And guess what? If we're in a financial crisis, guess what? They can take your savings and use it to bring themselves back to a physical health. This should never have been allowed. They should take care of their own business and not get themselves in a bind. Do you understand? But a lot of people don't know about this. The Dodd-Frank, I remember when they kept pushing this thing and they finally got it done after the 2008 crisis, a lot of people lost their homes. Remember that? And boom, they passed this legislation. Now they can have a bail-in, okay? And I'm gonna show you what a bail-in means. Can banks do a bail-in times of crisis? Yes. Banks can use banks can use bail-ins to address losses during a financial crisis. A bail-in is a legal process that allows a bank to convert debt into equity, or write down debt owed to creditors. This process helps to recapitalize the bank and absorb losses. Well, suppose they do it on purpose. So it's a win-win. How do bail-ins work? A trustee asset. The bank loses and determines how much capital is needed to recapitalize. The trustee suspends trading of the bank's equity and potentiality debt securities. The trustee announces the final terms of the bail-in to the bank's previously security holders. The trustee transfers the equity to the original creditors. Why do banks use bail-ins? Bail-ins are a way for banks to avoid failure. Bail-ins are a way to help keep the financial system stable. Bail-ins are a way to avoid large-scale bankruptcy that can lead to systematic problems. So you see a problem, you have a run on the bank, to me, they can close the doors and get themselves straight, then reopen. Now, you know you got the FDIC, but quiet as it's kept. Put in the comment section, what have you heard? I don't think they have the money on reserve like they used to. That's my research told me. A bail-in, banks use money from depositors and unsecured creditors to help them avoid failure. Do you hear me? A bail-in, banks use money from debtors and unsecured creditors to help them avoid failures. Does that mean you? It's deep, y'all. Let me see here. Let me see, how can I put this? Banks are not regulated to have that much money in-house as they used to. Banks are subject to regulation that require them to hold a certain amount of capital. The amount of capital required has changed over time, and the Trump administration rolled back some of the restrictions on smaller banks. Did you hear that? The Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform of Consumer Product Act increased the amount of capital banks were required to hold. In 2018, the Trump administration loosened restrictions on banks with less than $250 billion in assets. Banks regulation is the process of setting and enforcing rules for the banks. The purpose of bank regulation is to protect consumers, prevent financial crime, and ensure the stability of the financial. So let me see. So Trump loosened it on small banks. Let me see here. How much in assets are banks required to have compared to years past? Banks are not required to maintain a specific minimum level of assets due to the Federal Reserve setting reserve requirement ratios to 0%, meaning they don't need to hold a set percentage of deposits as reserves. However, they are still subject to capital requirements based on a ratio of their capital to risk wage assets, typically around 8% under Basel Accords, which means they need to hold a certain percentage of capital relative to their overall risk, not a set amount. So yeah, my interpretation, what I've read over the years, they don't have to keep as much money in the bank on reserve that they used to. Let's see. A bank reserves are calculated by multiplying its total deposits by the reserve ratio. For example, if a bank deposit total is $500 million and the required is 10%, multiplied by 500 by 0.1, the bank's required to hold 50 million. Okay. So yeah, Those are the numbers. You get a headache doing this, right? Let's finish this. What foreign countries over the past 5 years have bought more American real estate? Check it out. According to recent data, the top foreign countries buying American real estate over the last few years are Canada, China, Mexico, India, and United Kingdom. So we just went to war financially with Canada, China, and Mexico, yet they own all this real estate in America. Make that make sense. It's because the dollar is faltering. It ain't got nothing to do, as far as I'm concerned, with tariffs. Really, that's the way I see it. I mean, it does to a certain extent, but Congress and the presidents of old have set this thing in place. As the dollar falters, America is on a power grab to sustain themselves financially. That's what I want you to understand. And at the same time, the big boys know when the stocks are going to go down, so they buy low. When they kick in, they buy high. They make money because, to me, they allegedly have inside trading information ahead of time, and they make money irregardless. I'm just trying to show you guys, I'm painting the picture as to what's really going on. So according to recent data, the top foreign countries buying American real estate over the last few years are Canada, China, and Mexico. Come on, man. You're going against the same ones that in part own you. They own your debt. They own your bonds. They own all this, and they own your land. Come on, man. Come on, tell the truth. What foreign countries are buying up more farmland? Canada owns the most land in America. Are you reading this? Canada owns the most land in the United States. Didn't we just go after Canada? Followed by the Netherlands, Italy, and United Kingdom. China owns a small percentage of land, and I've done videos on that. And a lot of what they own is near army bases. Make that make sense. Got two more to go through. Which foreign countries are shedding the dollar? Hello. Look at that. Argentina, Brazil, Bolivia, Forex reserve, China, all these countries. Nations worldwide are seeking alternative to the US dollar, with example being China and Russia, trading in their own currencies, and countries like India, Kenya, and Malaysia, avoiding to. See, America's on the dive, baby. So we doing all these type of Houdini tricks. What else I got? Last one. Here's your debt by president. Here's your debt by president. Let's go there. George Bush, 4 trillion. Obama, 7 trillion. See that? Donald Trump, 6.7 trillion. Look at that. Who we got? Bill Clinton, 208 billion. Bill Clinton, 1 trillion. Bill Clinton, 1 trillion. So yeah, people, the stories are there. And I know just because I threw the numbers out there, Donald Trump did have a crisis he walked into. But by the same token, what I'm trying to show you is that no matter what president recently, the last 4 presidents, there is debt. Arguably, the ones who have created the most debt in a short period of time are Bush, Obama, Trump, and where's Biden? Yeah, he think he'll get away. Let me get Biden. Where he at? Where Biden at? Oh, Joe Biden, 4.7 trillion. Hope you guys understand. I want you to understand. This thing has ballooned because of both parties and Congress. This crazy spending, pimping the situation, loopholes in business, not paying their fair share allegedly, foreign investors buying our debt, these so-called wars that they're showing back and forth in terms of trade and whatnot. They're all cousins and nephews. I'm Franchise Pearson. Enjoy the work. Just go to my site, Franchise Pearson, Franchise Blue. You know, again, this is what I do for a hobby. Just want you guys to see it. Go to my site and click on my portrait there. I believe I have. And then click on more. I have Venmo, Zelle, Cash App, PayPal, also P.O. Box. Whatever you can donate, I appreciate it, because it's hard to get a lot of people to, because the video doesn't go to a lot of people. That's the problem. And then I have a poetry book on Amazon Books, okay? Protect the Gift, Amazon Books, Franchise Pearson. God bless you. We'll talk soon.